Hello, students. Today we are going to study news sources and news agencies. So, what are the different sources of news? This is what we are going to study today. So, a journalist, if you see, is surrounded by sources of potential news everywhere. So, sources of news are everywhere. And how do they collect news sources? The main business of a newspaper is to collect news from all possible sources and later process it and give it to the reading public. And many newspapers these days, they employ much experienced reporters to gather news efficiently. Big newspapers, they maintain national and international correspondence. And apart from these reporters and the correspondents, news agencies, they play a vital role in supplying information on a global scale. Based on authenticity, the news sources are divided into three types. They are the first one is called primary sources. So the primary sources is actually the original source that gives the first hand information about an event. It has a direct involvement in incidents, or it may be the eyewitnesses who could provide an accurate information, and they are the most reliable sources of information in the case of an incident or event. So primary sources are the most reliable sources of information. The second one is named as secondary sources. Secondary sources usually they take information from primary sources. So secondary take information from primary sources, and this secondary source do not have direct involvement in the incidents. They must have been told about the event by an eyewitness or the person involved. Therefore, they have only second hand information of the news story. And if you see primary source that gives the first hand information about the event, and secondary source, they have only second hand information of the news story. And the third one is tertiary sources. Tertiary sources are those who acquired information from different sources. It may be a summary or a selection of information from the primary and secondary sources. And they provide the readers some information about the event, but it may not be complete. So the facts thus gained should be checked and cross checked. The facts that are produced or given by the tertiary sources should be checked and cross checked. And the following are stock sources of news. The first one is government and private. And these are covered, government and private are covered by reporters of individual newspapers and or news agencies. Government and official news, that is news about the head of the state, cabinet, parliament, state legislatures and administration. Next topic is news agencies. The newspapers, to a large extent, depend upon news agencies for general news coverage. Even big newspapers do not have country-wide network. The newspaper representatives concentrate on important happenings, and for other news, they depend on agencies. The basic function of a news agency is to collect and provide news reports of current events to the newspapers and others who subscribe to its service. There are some basic principles which should govern the functioning of news agencies. I have listed some here, so let us see one by one now. The first one is there should not be